The news of the birth of the newborn baby spread around the village, and the chief priest got to hear about it. He went to the king's palace and told him about what he heard from the people. He advised the king to order for his killing just like the previous child, Ikena, to avoid the anger of the gods upon the land because he's a cursed child. This is Ikena, the cursed child who has reincarnated. If nothing is done about him, our peaceful land will be doomed. The king, who often wants to get his people's opinions on matters like this, in order to make the best decisions, called the elders for a meeting in order to draw conclusions, because left for him alone, he wouldn't want the child to die. But the gods spoke against the crescent-shaped birthmark on Ikena's chest, which made him to order for his killing, and now that same mark is back again. The king believes that the voice of the people are the voices of the gods. The king told the elders why he had called for the meeting. Most of them echoed, "The evil child must be killed." Maxi Ogwu, an elder who's known for his wisdom in the village, muttered, but what are the gods saying concerning this matter? They should tell us what to do. We can't draw conclusions based on what has happened years ago. Let the eyes of the gods, the chief priest, consult the gods and get directives from them. What if the gods don't want this child to die? What if the gods have lifted the curse placed on him? Let us be careful on how we place judgment without hearing from the gods. Maxi Ekele, the greatest wrestler in the village when he was young and vibrant, seconded Maxi Ogwu, saying, "You don't wrestle with the will of the gods when you don't even know the will of the gods." What if the gods are saying a different thing? Ezemo, please consult the gods so that we don't call curses upon ourselves, all because a familiar crescent-shaped birthmark has reoccurred. The gods may be saying a different thing. Let's be mindful of our decisions. Ezemo, eyes of the gods, please consult the gods and give us feedback. The chief priest answered, "The gods are silent. They have refused to speak. I already consulted them, but they are silent. The newborn baby is Ikena. He just reincarnated in order to destroy the land. In his first coming, he had evil plans, and this, his second journey, he still has same plans. He must be killed." Majority of the elders supported that. Obina must be killed. King Dimpa asked 4 of his guards to go to Onyeka's house to bring the baby to the palace, while the chief priest joins them to the evil forest. The king ordered his guards to take the evil child to the forest and kill the baby. When they got to Onyeka's house, Onyeka asked them to go back to the king and tell him he can't give out his only son, therefore let the worst happen. He said he has done it before, he can't do it again. The guards went back and told the king what Onyeka told them. The king and chief priest were angry. The king sent more guards and chief priests to Onyeka's house. He said if Onyeka refuses to hand over the baby to them, Onyeka should be killed without mercy. Before they could reach Onyeka's house, Ifunanya, Onyeka's wife, had already left the village to her sister's house in another village to hide her baby. When the guards, chief priests, got to Onyeka's house, they found Onyeka in an empty hut. Onyeka told them his baby fell from his wife's hands while bathing him and he died. They believed him because they met him crying. He said he had buried the baby in the evil forest and his wife is in a friend's house grieving. They doubted him too, to an extent. In order to be sure of his wife's whereabouts, they went to her friend's house and found her there. They now believed Onyeka. They went back to the king to tell him their experience, and the king also believed them too. Ifunanya travels to her sister's house once every year to see and behold her son. This continued for 5 years. But even in this distant village, the shadow of the curse followed him. Chinwe's husband's brother, Uche, a bitter and superstitious man, was suspicious of the boy's birthmark. He knew that the mark was a sign of doom, and he was determined to keep Obina away from his own children. Whenever Obina tried to join the other children in their games, Uche would intervene. He would tell the children to stay away from him, warning them that anyone who played with the cursed child would suffer the god's wrath. The other children, confused and frightened by Uche's words, would reluctantly stay away, leaving Obinna to play alone. Though he was surrounded by love from his aunt Chinwe, Obinna could feel the sting of rejection. He didn't understand why the other children didn't want to play with him, but he would never forget how lonely those days were. Years passed, and Obinna grew into a quiet, thoughtful boy. He often looked at the crescent-shaped birthmark on his chest, wondering why it made everyone so fearful of him. He loved his aunt deeply, but his heart ached for the warmth of friends, the laughter of children who didn't see him as an outsider. Then one day tragedy struck. Chinwe, Obinna's loving aunt, fell ill and passed away unexpectedly. The village was filled with sorrow, but for Obinna, it was another blow to the heart. He had lost the one person who had cared for him, the one person who had protected him from the cruelty of the world. But there was no time to mourn, for his mother, Ifunanya, was coming to bring him back home. Ifunanya, heartbroken from the loss of her sister, arrived at Chinwe's village and met her sister's husband. She told him it's time to take Obinna home. Her sister's husband was scared and asked if the king wouldn't come back for him anymore. She told him that she would tell everyone that her sister died, and so no one to take care of her sister's son, which made her to adopt him. Her sister's husband agreed and wished her well. Ifunanya was seeing her son once in a year, seeing her heart burn with the desire to hold him once more. As Ifunanya gathered Obinna's belongings, Uche watched from a distance, his face filled with unease. He knew the truth, that Obinna was her son, the very child who had been cast out as an abomination. But he said nothing. He had seen how much Ifunanya had suffered and how fiercely she had loved her son. Maybe, just maybe, the gods will show her mercy. When Neka and Obinna finally arrived back at their village, a sense of relief and joy filled Ifunanya's heart. She held Obinna close, tears streaming down her face as she whispered, "My son, my precious son, I thought I had lost you forever." Onyeka was happy that his own son had returned. They told the villagers that it's Ifunanya's sister's son who died after an illness. Of course, the villagers knew about the death of Ifunanya's sister because the news of her death spread wide. She was known for her beauty and kindness. Nobody doubted them. They all believed the couple. Obinna, the child, grew under the watch of his biological parents. Everything was going well in the village. There was peace in the land. Obinna grew to be kind, hardworking, respectful, handsome, loving, and most motivated child in the community. "15 years later, the streams turned to blood. There was no rain, crops were dying, pregnant women were dying during childbirth. There was a disaster in the land. Children were dying of hunger. There was famine, and the people were unhappy. The gods were silent, and nobody knows the problem nor the solution. People die every day, and everyone was scared. The fear of who would die next had become the order of the day. One day, the chief priest was going to the forest to commune with the gods. He saw Obinna coming back from the farm. His eyes sighted Obinna's chest, and he saw the crescent-shaped birthmark. He exclaimed, "Abomination!" His mouth was wide open. He was shocked, and he asked him, "Who are you? Where are you from? What is your mission in this village? Who sent you? What do you want from my people? Who are your parents?" Obinna was confused and didn't know which question to answer first. He only picked the last question, "Who are your parents?" And he answered, "Onyeka and Ifunanya." The chief priest angrily responded, "You mean Onyeka, the son of the great hunter, whose wife gave birth to cursed babies twice?" The chief priest muttered, "Okay," without talking further, and angrily walked away shouting, "Aru, Ayu, abomination." When Obinna got home, he told his mom that he saw the chief priest and he stared at his chest. After staring, he asked him confusing questions which he couldn't provide the answers though. He was able to answer one of his questions. He asked who my parents are, and I told him. Obina said, but what bothered me most was him screaming, abomination. Were you without a cloth? Ifunanya asked. Obina answered, yes, but I have always warned you never to leave this house without a cloth. Why did you disobey me by leaving the house without a cloth? Asked Ifunanya. Obina answered, one of the trees in the farm hooked my cloth, and when I tried letting go, it tore it. I had to take it off at once because it's of no use anymore. Ifunanya cried and said, they will come for you, my son. They have known you are still alive. Obina was confused and wanted to understand what his mom was saying. His dad, Onyeka, came back from his friend's house and met his wife and son in this scenario. He told Obina how the whole thing started and how the villagers wanted to kill him in order to avert the so-called calamity that would befall the land if he stays alive. Obina understood and kept faith alive. He was never scared, yet Onyeka assured Obina that he would protect him from harms. Onyeka and Ifunanya planned on fleeing from the village to a faraway land the following morning before anyone would wake from sleep. Because this time, the king may not spare any of their lives. The chief priest went to tell the king what he saw. This child must be killed. No wonder the gods are silent, he whispered to the king. The gods have been silent, and it could be because of this evil child in this village. The gods are angry. Abomination! Abomination! Oh! No wonder they said nothing. The chief priest shouted. The king, looking very angry and unhappy, said, so, Onyeka and his wife lied to us about the death of their baby. They cooked and dished out another lie after 5 years that this boy is Ifunanya's sister's child. How dare them? How dare them harbor a cursed child in this village? This is a deceit and a slap to my face. They must pay with their blood. Their heads will roll on the ground. I will show them that I am the king of this village. This village used to be the most peaceful and wealthy village in all our neighboring villages. Other villages used to come to us to beg for food and borrow things from us. We used to be the greatest, and now we beg and depend on other villages just to survive. And this is because of Onyeka and his wife. They must pay with their blood. I shall deal with them. The king sent his guards to Onyeka's house at midnight. They broke into their hut. Onyeka, Ifunanya, and Ikena gasped in fears. They knew something bad was about to happen to them. The guard said, your hidden secret is out. It's time to pay for your lies. Onyeka and his family cried, please have mercy on us.